So one of the cool things about Geekwire, and something I'm excited to ask him about, is so like 2017 was the year of major media companies and layoffs, like Vice, BuzzFeed, Mashable, Huffington Post. They've all laid off people, and like they didn't have to do it. They've been profitable since like their second year in existence. So I think that's highly commendable.
Will you take part in my life, my love? That is my dream. I just got a dream. It's what you make it.
I already think I know the title of this episode, which is Starting a Company Isn't Sexy. It's Sunday. I like probably don't know anyone else who's actually working right now. It's Sunday afternoon, but we're in Lawrenceville, going to interview the co-founder of Geekwire. We're going to do a podcast interview, and then he's going to interview me. And the way this came about is all just completely unsexy stuff. Geekwire announced that they were doing an HQ2 in Pittsburgh. I was like one of the first people to message them, invited them to the Going Deep Summit. They didn't come, so I went to the journalism panel that they did at the beginning of the month, and that's how we ended up getting to doing this interview. And it's just like the unsexy grind of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, honestly. I know my family's like, they all went to my brother's tennis match in New York, and I'm like, this is just the grind.
That's what makes it worth it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I just got a dream. It's what you make it. Always try to give. Don't ever take it. I just got a dream. It's what you make it. Always try to give. Don't ever take it.
I think that one of the most exciting or impressive things to talk about with Geekwire and starting off on this endeavor is in doing research, so that within 2 years you brought the company to profitability. And 2017 was basically this year where a bunch of media companies, both old and new, had to lay off people, had to change their vision or even what they were aiming for. And Geekwire's managed to remain profitable. Can you speak to what you attribute that to and how much of a value that was?
Sure, absolutely. And one thing I want to be super clear on is one of the ways that we've run the business is I would never declare victory.
Right.
It's an ongoing challenge every year to make sure that we're running the business well and in a way that is sustainable long term. But there have been a couple ingredients that have worked so far. First off, we raised a small amount of angel funding at the very beginning. Our joke was it was just enough for John and me to run the company into the ground for a year. From that point, have bootstrapped it into profitability. And the way we've done that is by growing very steadily. So whereas a lot of the sites that you're alluding to, companies in Silicon Valley are raising huge amounts of venture capital, $30 million, $40 million, whatever it may be, and then chasing that money essentially by growing really quickly and seeing if they can, from that growth, build the revenue that will eventually bring them profits. And man, that is a difficult game. And sure, we could have tried that and maybe it would have worked, but we just decided that we would do it slow and steady. So after 7 years, we are up to a grand total of 15 people. So we like to say that we punch above our weight. There's a site called TechMeme, the TechMeme leaderboard, where they track influence essentially among tech news sites, and we rank above a lot of household names on that site, and we're proud of that.
How has growing up in the digital space allowed you to create more of a community around your content with either memberships or other, the events that you're throwing versus, I don't think of the newspaper as being a very social experience. It's a pretty one-off type of consumption.
Absolutely. Obviously just basic things like comments and social media and that interaction that you have with people online, much more so than a static newspaper, is going to lend itself to people coming in and really being engaged with what you're doing and who you are, not just the content that you're producing. That said, at its core, what we really focus on is news and insights and providing value online, and that is the foot in the door for us to basically find a spot in these readers' lives. And from that point, once we prove value in that way with scoops, insights, information that they didn't have, information they can use to get a job, information they can use to find employees, get business, whatever they're looking for, in the Seattle tech world or in the broader world. If they can find that with us, then they've established that kind of relationship that would cause them to come out to an event.
So how about before we kind of get into Amazon and all this crazy stuff with HQ2, your HQ2 search, for listeners that might not be familiar, set that up, but why you're here in Pittsburgh?
Taylor, who's sitting over there at our office here in Pittsburgh at Beauty Shop, he and John and I were out at a happy hour, and we like to do these things called Geekwire adventures, and they can range from everything from Taylor spending 2 weekends delivering Amazon packages at the holidays and then writing about them online to we did a multimodal bike race across Seattle, and skateboard versus the bike versus the car. And we were talking about our next Geekwire adventure, and Amazon had just come out with its HQ2 RFP, and we decided, why not us? Why not Geekwire? Why couldn't we do at least our own temporary HQ2? And we ended up putting out our own RFP. It was a request for proposals. It was in part a spoof of what Amazon did, but also very serious to put a temporary headquarters in a city to be determined around somewhere in North America. And we got 10 responses from around the country. Compared to the, I don't know how many hundreds of...
Yeah, it's like 600 something for Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. And our joke was, we'll bring up to 2 to 3 jobs to your community for a month. Ultimately, we chose Pittsburgh because this is a place that has just amazing stories to tell. I think if we had gone to one of the other finalists, even someplace like Raleigh, North Carolina, I wonder if we would have been done in 2 weeks in terms of the quality of stories that were there. Frankly, our biggest challenge in Pittsburgh over the past month has been keeping up with all the cool stuff happening here. Challenge to people in Seattle is, be genuine and open like people in Pittsburgh, because we ran into a lot of Seattle freeze there, and we have not run into it here.
Cool. Well, I love it. I think that is right on brand with the listeners of the Going Deep show. So appreciate the challenge and appreciate the time, Todd.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Boom.
That was fun.
I love it.
Yeah. Really appreciate the questions.
Yeah,
it was great.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me, like sinking my teeth into what you're doing with Geekwire is, there's always your own unique spin on it, but I think that's to me, when I see those layoffs associated with BuzzFeed or Vice or any of those places, that gives me really high level anxiety that I would never even have to be in that position. And what I sensed in the way that you described Geekwire at the journalism panel is that to some degree you feel that same way, you're making this really personal commitment to the people that come on, that I'm gonna do what I can to give you that degree of security and trust. Yeah,
no, it's very true. It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never owned a company before this. We're just reporters. You need a good team, and not only internally, but the accountants and the lawyers and the investor, and it's.
You can have fun too.
Yeah.
John always says if you don't have fun, why are you doing it?
That is a good point.
Yeah.
And John's good at that.
Yeah.
I'm a little more paranoid.
Can I ask you maybe one more, just kind of your perspective from a media standpoint? So what we're doing with our company is called Piper Creative. And in addition to having the summit and some other smaller events, we're doing 3 productized media services, which are Instagram account building, podcast production, and then on the high end, we're doing what we're calling documentary as a service, which is the basic premise that high-powered executives, people who provide services, financial planners, real estate folks like that, should be having this type of vlogging service where the camera's following them along, and they don't necessarily have to worry about the production. We know how to edit, we know how to shoot, we know how to distribute it to some degree, but that expertise can be used for recruiting talent, for brand building, for just having content for those different platforms. I don't know, any initial thoughts or anything?
Oh gosh, it's a great idea. I mean, we've seen demand for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think it's really smart.
Our interpretation is that in Pittsburgh, it might be a little early or a little edgy for some people, because it is you talk about the authenticity or the genuine, but there really aren't in LA, we could just start doing a selfie video and everyone would just be oh, they're doing a selfie video. But you could do that in a restaurant here and people would be
what are you doing?
Yeah.
You just need your one big success.
Yeah.
And maybe you yourself are your first customer.
Well, that's how we're kind of proving the model is if, what everyone said with the summit, I did a ton of Facebook advertising, and I'd run into people and be like, you're all over my news feed, which is like, so I'm effectively marketing in this small little window. If in the same way we can get people saying that, like, get that word of mouth that like he seems to be everywhere, and it's like, well, you need that.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time.
Really appreciate it.
That was fun.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So we'll go up as like the third episode.
Can we take a picture?
100%. Oh, I have something else for you. I actually forgot something else I'm supposed to give you.
No.
Yeah.
In front of the camera as well.
Okay.
At times. So.
Oh, sorry, Taylor.
So before we take this
Oh my
picture,
gosh.
have you heard about the pink socks at all?
No.
The premise here is I got my pair at Thrival, and it actually starts with a guy in Portland named Nick Adkins.
Yeah.
And the whole idea behind this is the power of gifting and the power of wearing funky socks like this is at some point in the future you're going to be wearing them, and someone is going to say, hey, those are some crazy socks, or just some random stranger interaction, and that's your little reminder, your little totem.
And then I talk about you.
No. It's not about that whatsoever. It's your little reminder of the common humanity in everyone, and that's your time to either look down from your phone or to not worry so much about Geekwire and just connect with somebody.
Thank you so much. You know what I'm going to say? We gave out our last pair of Geekwire socks last night.
Oh.
Have you got a shirt yet?
Not yet.
Okay, let's get you some shirts.
Deal.
Although I don't know if we have your size.
That's okay.
I is what I be, is what you make it. Always try to give, don't ever take it. I is what I be, is what you make it. Always try to give, don't ever take it.
The outro is that there's nothing sexy about startup grind, about entrepreneur life. It's, being here on a Sunday, even his story of like not having massive offices, not fundraising huge amounts, it's not sexy. Let's talk about what's not going to be sexy about the rest of the day after we turn the cameras off. So I'm going to go home. I'm going to build 2 new pages of the website. We just got confirmation that our Instagram seminar is going to be April 12th.
412 Day.
412 Day.
National Pittsburgh Day. We're making it a thing.
412 Day is Pittsburgh Day. I have to like create the Eventbrite page for that and get images, so that's gonna not be fun whatsoever.
Right.
A little bit of fun, but a lot of work on a Sunday. What are you doing that's not sexy?
I have to, once I show you the vlogs, I'm assuming that I'll have to make adjustments with the first 2, so I'm leaving in time for that, but I'll have to finish editing vlog 3, get the intro, like cut that together for our channel, and then edit vlog number 4 so it's ready to go like day after launch day. So it's just, I'm gonna be sitting in front of my computer for the next 12 hours.
Yeah. And it's a grind. It's like this balance of not sexy, but it's fun and it's exciting because it's tied to something that we're really into.
We're just starting. So this is like the beginning of something huge. So
mark your calendars for April 12th.
Yes.
I is what I be, is what you make it.